ஆக்சுவலி நம்ம இப்போ சும்மா பேஷண்ட் இருக்கிறப்பெல்லாம் பண்ணணும். ரொம்ப அப்படியே க்ளம்மாக உட்காரத்துக்குல்ல. ஐ நோ. Namaskaram. This is Sandhya Shankar again with you, being a Thursday afternoon on the ACHARYA CHAT. So today our guest is Padmavathi Saranathan. Namaskaram.
Namaskaram.
So happy that you could come here. And we've been planning this for quite some time to have her on our show. Today she could find time and come here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Welcome. So I know that you're a multifaceted personality, and I've heard that you are into violin, instrumental, and also vocal singing. And I also suspected with your kind of facial looks, you must be a dancer too. So Padmavathi, it is your time now. Please tell us about your journey in music and violin and how they went hand in hand.
Certainly. I will start off with thanking my family for the vision that they had, my parents. My father, Sri R. Saranathan, he is no more. He passed away in 2000. He was an absolute genius, I must say, with respect to music. He never learnt music. He was not formally trained, but he could sing any raga that you asked him to. And he would spend 1 hour every morning chanting shlokas in tune. With any ragam, each day the ragam would change. So
He could identify them?
he could identify, he could just pick up, you could just give him any shloka and he could sing it with ragam, any ragam, and it would change each day. It was not like the same set of ragas each day. So that was, we realized much later after our training and performances that this requires a huge amount of skill and not even trained musicians can do that at will. My mother was she is immensely talented when it comes to music as well as dance. And she had this vision, which is a wonderful vision, by the way, that all these art forms are not separate. In her view, dance helps you with the laya and the rasa, bhava aspect, right? A dancer understands, I'm not saying that if you're just a musician you wouldn't, but I'm saying that if you have learned dance, you learn to emote better because it's part and parcel of dancing, and the rhythm aspect becomes really strong because, you know, even a 4 or 5-year-old kid is taught the Panchanade. Right at the beginning we learn the Panchanade, Bodhistishram, Mishram, Chatusram, to stay on beat becomes just part of your whole system. And the violin, interestingly, was her backup plan, just in case my voice failed. She said, you know, you never know what your voice is going to turn out like some years down the line. So I thank her for that vision because now I have so many options and it has actually helped. Learning an instrument kind of helps you with the Swaranyanam. Gamakas, especially Carnatic music, is so deeply entrenched in gamakas, the movement of notes, and sometimes it's so difficult to explain or to visualize it. But when you have something like an instrument, you can actually visualize the gamaka because your fingers are moving in a particular way to produce that sound, and then you see the movement between the notes. So it was actually very helpful for me from a Swaranyanam perspective, or to visualize the gamakas, to learn violin. So I definitely have to thank my mother for coming up with such an idea, although it was very tight for me as I was growing up. So apart from school, it was music or dance, singing, dance, or violin.
She just didn't give you any time to besides that.
Oh, she did. You know, I loved reading books, so she would really fuel my appetite and buy me a lot of books. So I think she taught me how to manage my time so that I would have time for reading books and also doing all this. And I somehow liked it. To be very honest, I never felt like it was a grind to practice. So I used to kind of look forward to coming back from school and practicing. And I luckily have this elder brother who is immensely talented. He is a Mridangam Vidwan too. And we are both
what is
chartered
his,
accountants. His name is Arvind, Kolkata Arvind is what he goes by in music circles. So
அவரும் சென்னையில் தான் இருக்காரா?
இப்போ பெங்களூர்ல இருக்கார். He works with ITC and he's a VP finance there. He's also a chartered accountant, company secretary and cost accountant. But he's also been playing professionally, and having him by my side was very helpful because we both sit and practice together. So that makes a huge difference, you know, when you have people in the family who are also practicing with you. So I had company and it was a lot of fun. We'd have fun and quarrel, and everything went hand in hand with music. It was never outside of music. So
Today your mother must be a very proud mother.
I hope so. Like
No,
all
all her efforts have paid dividends, in the sense she has seen the results while she's, you know, she she must be able to enjoy all your successes.
She probably is inside, but like all mothers of her generation, I think she keeps us grounded. She's never one to say, okay, you've done a great job, I'm proud of you. She's always going to say, you could have done that one thing better, and watch out for it next time. She sets the bar really high for us, and I'm again very grateful for
Yes,
that.
yes. I used to also feel when I was a child, now in the same context, that my mother, in fact, I used to go around telling all my friends, my mother's actually my stepmother. She's really giving me a hard time, and she's making me, all the time, I don't have time to, idle or, freak out. So she is very, very tough on
A
me and a
taskmaster.
taskmaster slave driver. So she can't be my real mother. And she sent the you know bar so high that whatever we did, it was not making her, just to get one smile from her or approval. Today she's 79 and she lives with me, and today morning I was just making some pesret. She said, not bad, nanna vandirukku. I said, my god, I need to grow this big. And so many years later she's approving my cooking.
That way, my mom is also very vocal when we do something good, and it's like by equal measure. If there's something good, she'll tell you, she'll like, this is fantastic, this is good, keep going. And of course, there'll be a next step that we have to do. It's not that you can stay there, but if it's bad, then like she's my best friend, worst critic. And I have to share a joke at this moment. So there's this joke
Please,
regarding
please.
moms, right? So Mona Lisa, the famous painting. So it's with regard to that joke. It seems Mona Lisa's mom looked at the painting and the whole world was appreciating it, and she said, "I spent so much money on your dentures, on this dental job. I paid the dentist so much just for you to not show your teeth in that smile. Could you not have smiled a bit wider?" So
What a waste of.
what a waste of all that effort and money with the dentist if you can't even show your teeth when you smile. So
We owe a lot to our mothers.
absolutely.
So, Padmavati, it was very interesting, and I too agree that learning an instrument while you're a vocalist, or the other way around. Like I know this flutist, the young flutist, you must have heard of him, Jayant.
Hmm.
He's very
Great.
bright.
Very bright.
He's learning from Sanjay Subramaniam, who's a vocalist. So, how does this work? I mean, in the sense, if you can elicit that, I mean, tell the viewers, why would a child who's learning vocal Carnatic music or something uh, go to you spoke about Gamaka
Hmm.
and how it helps. But if it's some other kind of instrument, say,
Like you mentioned, the flute.
yes.
Um, in Carnatic music, to be honest, we don't have a separate tantrakari or a instrumental style. At least 90% of what we play on an instrument is the same as what we sing. It's called gayaki. In Hindustani, the distinction is quite strong. Like they have the gayaki ang and they have the tantrakari. So what they sing in vocal is not exactly what they play. When they have an instrument, for example, the sitar has a very specific portion called the jhala. It's like they increase the speed, and it's a very high speed of swarams, similar to our Karna swarams, but at a very high speed towards the end. And that jhala is an integral part of their instrumental music, especially for the sitar. So they have certain typical things that they do only on instruments, and they don't do it on vocal. There are certain things that they do on vocal and not on instrument. If you look at Carnatic music, we play the same kritis, we do the same kind of alapana. So you could very well benefit from learning. Rather, you should know vocal, because for example on the violin, when I'm changing a syllable, I have to change the bowing. Like if I'm trying to play a word, let's say which has 3 syllables, like karuna, for example, I have to do karuna on the bow for me to produce that kind of sound and the effect. Like if I'm saying Telia Leru Rama, I have to change Telia Leru. So I have to change the bow that many times to produce that effect. So basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to reproduce vocal on my violin. It's not like I'm trying to play something else on the violin. So actually speaking, you need to know vocal, very good vocal. Of course, flautists have certain very typical things that they do only on the flute. Similarly, even violinists have taken certain things from the Western violin, from the Hindustani kind of violin, and that's done only on the violin, and you don't reproduce it on the voice. But those sections are, let's say, the remaining 10% that I spoke of, the delta. 90%, you do the same thing. So it's better for you to learn vocal and then play it on an instrument. The instrument in turn helps your vocal knowledge in terms of swaranani. Like when I listen to a kriti, I can quickly convert it to swarams. Because as a violinist, I've learned to notate in my
Yes,
mind.
yes.
So that part of it is very strong for any instrumentalist.
The violin anyway is the closest to the human voice.
So when you
So
hear a rag,
who did you learn violin from? Which came first? I mean, in your journey with the violin and the...
so vocal absolutely came first. Like I said, the violin started as a backup plan and still probably remains
Oh, yeah,
kind of
you
a
mentioned.
backup plan. So if it goes to who I learned it from, maybe I can just sketch out my
Of course,
journey
of
with my
course,
gurus
of
that
course,
I've
we're
been
very
very
interested.
fortunate to have.
Your journey started in Calcutta?
Yes, I grew up in Kolkata, out and out, till I completed my chartered accountancy course. And then there's another journey that I'll share after that. But coming to my gurus, so the first day of my learning was kind of funny. I was a kidnapped student, to say it in a very fun way. So I was waiting outside school for my mom. I was 5 years old, UKG, upper KG. And my mom usually used to turn up by, let's say, 10 o'clock, and that day it was 10:05. And her friend's mom had come to pick her up. She was actually a very good musician that we found out later. And she was interested in music, and she probably felt intuitively that she can teach me or she should teach me. I do not know what occurred to her. That particular day, she just took me to her house and she started teaching me. And my mom came in like 5 minutes later, panicked, got frantic, asked everyone around, figured out that I had gone to this lady's house, and she came there and she finds me coolly sitting and singing Sarigama Padanisa. So that was the story of my music lessons.
It's a slightly
journey.
unusual.
Very unusual.
But it must be your memory of that must be very vivid.
Wonderful, actually. So her name is.
Did you continue with her?
Yeah, her name is Srimati Lalita. Continued for some time, and then due to some reasons, I guess she got transferred or something happened, and then I started learning from another mommy who lived close by. Her name is Srimati Jayashankar, and also very thankful to her for all that she's taught me. She was a student of actually Kolkata Krishnamurti.
Oh.
Sir, a very famous
Yes.
composer, musician. Everyone has had some, at least some mentoring from him, if not direct learning. So, absolutely an inspiration in every way. So, after learning from her for a few years, I moved to Guru Guha Gana Vidyalaya. This is a famous school in Kolkata, Carnatic music school in Kolkata.
Are there so much of, I mean, is there so much of, what do you say, support for Carnatic music there?
So it was a very small
This must be
area.
slightly
within
way
which
back.
There was tremendous, yes. I'm talking about, yeah, 80s, 90s. And tremendous support within a very small circle. Not not out of the radius of maybe 10 kilometers or 15
Okay,
kilometers.
okay.
I'm talking within a radius of 15 kilometers. We had like 6 to 7 temples and 7 to 8 organizations. All of them had every possible festival in the year, like Janmashtami, Ramanavami,
Okay.
Navaratri. Every festival was celebrated with pomp and splendor, and every family. It was like living in a small town, because within that circle we all knew each other, and there would be like
It's a lot of
kacheris.
intimacy and...
Yeah, Navaratri, you would be like hard pressed to find out which kacheri to go to, because there would be like 2 sabhas having like.
As it is, Kolkata must be full of puja pandals and rasgullas and all that.
Absolutely.
So this side there is a one community which is happy having a Navratri South Indian way.
Side by side. I remember, like, because of the Navratri concerts, I couldn't go pandal hopping. That was a big grievance of mine. So after I finished on Dashami, I would tell my father, I'm done with concerts, so now I have to go and have ice cream and eat out and take me pandal hopping, and he would, So anyways, I learned from Sri A. Anantaraman and Srimati A. Champakavalli of Guru Guha Gana Vidyalaya.
Okay.
They were from the Sishya Parampara of Muthuswami Dikshita, Nadajyoti Muthuswami
Oh.
Dikshita. Yes. So I got to learn a lot of Dikshitar Kritis. I was in a group class, but my teacher had tremendous vision. Sri A. Anantaraman, we used to call him Ambi sir. He had this vision to kind of, he looked at me and he felt like I could go to the next level. So I went to him as a 10-year-old and he put me in the senior most class, which was already doing Manodharman. And within the next year, I was actually singing stage performances and concerts. With
How
Raga
old were you
Saranathan.
then,
11,
Padma?
12. I started
Oh my God.
concert, and it was just as Anugraham, I feel. It's not like he sat down and
So your first
handheld me.
individual concert was in Kolkata?
So that's yes and no. Like I had short concerts in Kolkata individually, but funnily enough, the actual individual concert that I did for, let's say, 1.5 hours was in Srirangam, which is my birthplace.
Okay.
So I'd gone there for a vacation, and there's this
Bhulokathil Vaikuntamala.
very old organization called Srirangam Music Circle that
Okay.
does chamber concerts.
They are still there?
Probably. It's at that time it was full of veterans who were veteran musicians, and me and my brother being children, we didn't even know.
You're just two of you, Padmavati.
Yeah.
Your elder brother and
That's-
yourself.
that's it. We have a huge family of cousins, and everyone's interested in music, and they have also been, tremendously supportive of our music.
Why
so
not?
we went to Srirangam, and that's where they asked us to perform first, and we did this 1.5 hour concert, not even knowing that we were in the presence of such great stalwarts. We did not know who was listening to us, and later on, when we got to know, we were trembling. We sang in front of them, and they appreciated.
How was the
us, and
response?
it was very good. They appreciated us. They spoke to us, spoke about us, and we didn't even know who the person was. When we knew later on, like this was the person who blessed and appreciated us, we were like so overwhelmed. And then after a point, I wanted one-on-one classes. So during my 10th.
This is at Guru Guha Vidyalaya.
Yeah, this was after, like during my stint at Guru Guha Gana Vidyalaya, while I was learning there. I had come for vacations, and that's why I performed for the first time in Srirangam. And then I was still living in Kolkata though. So we went back after the vacations, and I do small performances there. And like I said, 1 or 2 hour concerts. There is an RR Sabha there, there is a Sasta Samavam, there is a Bharati Tamashangam, there is a Mysore Association, there is an Andhra Association. So no dearth of small sabhas, and they were all very supportive. And so during the year, I could stay busy and keep practicing along with my brother and perform. And the audience, small audience that we had tremendous taste, tremendous good taste. So we could give anything to them and they would take it. So there was absolutely no need to dilute anything. I really had to keep myself motivated and do the best for them. Then I started learning from Sri T.V. Ramanujacharyalu during those vacation times. I also came in touch with Sri Trichy J. Venkatrami, a great veteran who had tremendous impact on my music. Though my interaction with him was very short, but I actually had the good fortune of playing violin for him, and he came and stayed with us at our house. He taught me several kritis and an entirely new perspective to music.
So in this journey up to this moment, every teacher has added some value to your singing.
Absolutely. And absolutely, each teacher gave me a very different perspective. And again, another turning point came around 98 when I met Srimati Suguna Varadachari, my current guru, Sangeeta Kalacharya Srimati Suguna Varadachari. And that was again a very beautiful story, I just went looking for a guru, and I went and knocked at her door, and she herself opened it. I was like,
You mean you just walked in there and knocked?
No, I had called her and I had an appointment, but normally any other artist I had visited would typically have a student open the door. You would have to go through a couple of rooms to finally get the darshan of the great
But what
artist.
made you call her?
Huh?
What made you call her?
Because this is an interesting
Because
story. So-
Chennai, when you're back here in South, you have, many more options. What made you call Mami?
So I was in Kolkata, and I got the senior scholarship to learn Bharatnatyam. So I won the CCRT senior scholarship for Bharatnatyam. I started learning under Srimati Chitra Vishweshwaran.
Oh my God.
So I came to Chennai, and the whole idea of coming to Chennai was also to pursue my music seriously. I already had a B high grade by then. I was just 20 years old. But I was equally serious about my vocal too. I was also doing my CA, but at that time everything seemed possible.
I was just
had
about
a
to
plan.
pause and tell the viewers that Padmavati, don't think she's just dancing and singing and then back to dancing, singing and violin. Amidst all this, she managed to complete her chartered accountancy, which is not a joke by itself. It needs a lot of hard work.
I think it was God's grace and my family's support, tremendous. I felt like I'm one person who's felt like anything's possible, but they have also kind of supported it. Like, yes, go for it. You know, they've never held me back and said, maybe you can't do this.
You've not disappointed them.
I hope so. But definitely, they are one reason why I feel like I must give my best.
So we need to know your relationship and how was your experience with Suguna Varadachari
Absolutely.
and also with Chitra Vishweshwaran. So where do you begin? It's your you
Since
decide.
you'd asked me about the phone call, I'll go there. So initially, what had happened was I came here and I was looking for a very good vocal guru also with whom I could pursue and do one-on-one. And in those days, we didn't have this option of Skype and all that, so I
Of
could
course,
not go
of
and
course, correct.
pursue it with the other gurus that I'd learned from. It was either go to Trichy or be in Kolkata. So coming to Chennai, I was definitely looking for somebody in Chennai. And as I was asking around, somebody in Chitraka's class suggested Suguna Mami's name to me and said she teaches at the Madras University. She's a wonderful teacher and you should go to her. And I went to her. And that's where, before that I had gone to a couple of places knocking and, I did have some disappointment. Like one teacher was traveling, so she couldn't take me and she was going to the US or someplace. Another teacher had said that since you are also a serious dance student, I would not probably want to.
They may have thought that you're.
I wouldn't give that
you wouldn't
much
be
attention.
that focused on. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, with complete respect to her thought process, she was very encouraging of. She was very positive about the way I sang. I sang for her, but she did say that I want to take you only if you're focused only on vocal.
Okay.
And then
She wanted you to be there full time.
And then I called up Mami. I've got her number, and I think there was no looking back. There's that point where there's no looking back. You go, you listen to them sing, and you're like, totally, I fell in love with her. I think from the moment she
It just had
opened
to
the
happen.
door, right? She opened the door.
I know you're
for me.
making it sound like one movie scene, I still remember the scene when you must have seen this film Aradhana, old.
Yes.
Shamila Tagore opens the door and there stands Rajesh Khanna.
Oh yeah, it
So
was
your
something
relationship
like that.
is.
I opened the door and I did not expect, because any other artist I'd visited would typically have somebody open the door and there would
Making
be
you wait and
the whole thing. And then here I go and she opened the door and she was actually busy working. I could see her hands had dosa batter and everything. She was doing something. She was in the middle of something and she said, "Come." It's like. I felt intuitively it must be her. I asked her. She said, "Ha mama, nada, wah hula." So it's so down to earth, And I felt like I'd seen my mother. I was missing my mom because my mom was in Kolkata at that time. Mom and dad were in Kolkata. Literally felt like I was entering a second home and I was seeing my mother. So it was not just Guru, And I've always seen her like that.
I can see you're already emotional about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time I think about that and think about her, that's how I feel. So went in and then she picked up the tambura and she would, those days the gurus used to strum the tambura. There was no electronic stuff, and which was good. We did have electronic tamburas.
So do you personally feel there's a difference between manual and electronic tambura?
Huge. But I will still thank this electronic tambura option, because if we come to the fact that there are people like me pursuing music, I had a traveling job. After I completed my CA, I worked for 14 years in the IT industry. I traveled every week.
What haven't you done, Padmavathi?
I don't know. I've been dabbling in a lot of things. But basically, I needed some financial stability before I could make this jump to music. I always wanted to pursue music full time, but I didn't have the financial means to do so. And now that I'm a little bit more stable in that direction, I could make this move. But during those days, I imagine if I didn't have an electronic tambura, how would I have practiced? I used to practice in airplanes sometimes, just plugging in the tambura in my ears, and I would just hum to myself, practice, or at least get the laya part of it right, or do some composing on planes. A lot of my compositions have happened in planes and trains. And the electronic tambura is what I used when I practiced in hotel rooms, when I was traveling. So what if I had always had to carry a tambura, then probably I would have stopped.
It would have been very
very
complicated.
So I really thank God for this invention, but there's a huge difference, of course, because it's not always accurate, and you just have to go with it and kind of tune your mind to sing accurately as close as you can get.
So you should be able to share with us one of the kritis that Suguna Mami taught you.
Sure. maybe I can just sing a little bit for you because there are some stories around JV Mama also that I have to share.
Sure, sure.
The fun stories. So this was the first kriti that she taught me, and when you asked me about experience, sorry, I'm having some technical glitch. The fact of the matter is, like, we're like these pampered students. We can just go ask mommy for a kriti. She's always been like, "Oh, kenna veno? What do you want to learn?"
Oh,
So the first thing that I asked her was, "Mommy, I want to learn something in Sahana." And then the first kriti she taught me was Chittam Irangadidaniya. So I'll just sing a little bit of the Pali. Chittam Irangadidaniya Sendil Velaya Nin Chittam Irangadidaniya Sendil Velaya Nin Chittam Irangadidaniya Sendil Velaya Nin Chittam Irangadidaniya Siriyenidam varuma muga sirirenum nin chittam Irangadidaniya Siriyenidam varuma muga sirirenum nin chittam Irangadidaniya Sendil Velaya
It's very beautiful. So, moving on to your dance, that came in a little, that took a little backseat because of your music?
Not exactly backseat, but at some
No,
point
because
I
if
had to
you
make
need
a
to
choice.
practice, then I guess it's easier to practice music.
So what happened was, after these experiences, after learning from a great stalwart like Chitraka, what she did for me was I learned for maybe 1 year, but then she kind of gave me the confidence that I could do my own choreography. Like, she's so brilliant. The ideas that she shared was such that it just, she has a vision. She has a very different approach. And when she teaches, her approach is like, you have to delve deep. You have to look at what suits your body, not blindly copy anything. Anything that she explains is very conceptual. When she was explaining, I still remember there's the whole idea of, initially they teach you to look at your hands, your gestures when they dance. And she was the first one who made me conscious, like, don't look at just your hand. You have to look beyond and you have to focus. If your eyes are not focused on something, then the audience gets the feeling that the eyes are wandering. So this small nuance, that she taught me made such a huge difference to my glance and how I could hold
Would
a
you like
particular
to
expression.
demonstrate?
I think it needs, I don't have the music to accompany.
Okay,
and,
okay.
But the point is, after having learnt from her, even for a short period, I came back to Kolkata. I started doing my own choreography. I would sing on a particular track and I would play violin on another track. I would do Natvangam on the other track. My brother played, he was kind enough to play Mridangam for me, kept him cooped up in a studio for 2 days. And we made a cassette of that and I used to dance to that. So for some days that's how it continued. But after I completed my CA, I had to take a decision. Like you said, dance needs a lot of infrastructure and good health too. You have to really physically be very fit and dance every day. Whereas when it comes to music, all I needed was my, I used to carry the electronic tambura box with me everywhere initially. And once I got the app, it was the app. So I would say just because of infrastructure challenges and also time challenges, because at some point I was working 15 hours a day in a typical corporate job. But vocal or even violin I would sometimes carry on my travel. I would make it a point to sing even if it was 10 in the night.
Oh.
Sing and then sleep, otherwise don't sleep, or sing in the morning, first thing in the morning, and then go to work. So that way I could at least manage my vocal practice schedule, but it became almost impossible to do the dancing. So at some point I said, okay, I'll not perform. I still learn dancing and I've taught dancing.
But
while
today
I
you are
practice.
actively teaching Carnatic music.
Yes, I teach Carnatic music. I also teach violin, but I do not perform on the violin or dance as of now. Maybe a couple of years down the line. Right now, I just want to focus on.
I was reading about you, and then there's so many performances, so many awards. I don't even know where to begin. Would you like to tell us rather than me going through this? The list seems to be pretty endless, Padmavathi. And I was so impressed, and it was, so many awards. You've won All India competition held by Navya Katak Nataka Samiti.
Yeah, I think that's very close to my heart. I was 13 years old, and I got
And
that
all in
prize
your
from-
20s.
Yes, before that. This Navya Natak Samiti I was 13 years old, and this happened. I went for this All India competition. My guru in Kolkata, Ambi sir, like I mentioned, he asked me to go participate. Again, like this Jnana Drishti had, he said, go sing there. So then there were 15 ragas. He just told me this is the syllabus. And I went home and I could prepare the entire 15 ragas on my own. I did that and I went to him.
He would have supported you.
Supported, of course. He would sing in class, and that would literally be so motivating that I could just go. And it was not teach every line or make me repeat the Manodharmam. That was never the model, because we were a group of 20 or so. But he would sing one Shankarabharanam, and it would be unforgettable. He would always give us, I think that was wonderful about him. He never spoon fed me or any other student for that matter. He would tell us, pick a raga, he would give us the do's and don'ts. If you're singing Bhairavi, this is what you should not sing. This is what you should avoid in order to not make it sound like Mukhari or Hussaini. These are all the allied ragas. If he's teaching us a piece in Darbar, he'll first tell us where it goes into Naiki and to not do that. And then he would teach us the Yochana. Similarly with his sister, Srimati Champakavalli, we used to call her teacher. So it was more about the, exceptions-based teaching. He would tell us what not to do, and what to do was not within a boundary.
What's such an unusual
approach. Now I'm coming to the interesting part.
Do you adopt the same approach with your students?
Not always now, because now it's become one-on-one training. So I do give them an outline. I do give them an outline about how to sing an alapana, or I sing some and let them follow, but it's never very strictly regimented. I adopt a little bit of this approach with a little bit of the more detailed approach that we follow on a one-on-one class. Okay. Yeah, violin, sometimes I used to do one-on-one with him, and at those times he would. But again, coming back to his, ability to foresee things. So I go back to him with this list of 15 and I say, sir, I've prepared all these 15. He has such confidence in me. He asks me to sing one piece, and he says, okay, the one piece that could be our choice. So he asks me to sing that, and he says, okay, fine. Then he picks the one raga that I'm not sure of. Out of those 15, there was one where I was not confident. I think I had put Shubha Pantorali on the list, and I couldn't really get to listen to it. Like the rest of it, I could at least listen to a few.
Which is the one he chose?
He did not choose anything for me. He absolutely said, it's your choice. And I think I chose Todi. I sang Enduku Dairadura. He was happy with what I sang. He blessed me. He sent me off. But this one raga he picked out of the list, and he said, can you sing this? I said, sir, that's the one I'm not clear about. Then he said, he taught me that. So this is a unique ability that he had to foresee what I could do or what I could not do that well. And I'm still surprised by how did he pick that raga out of the 15. He said, Shubha Pantorali practice panir kya every parno. And I said, adene kavlova confident ala. Then he taught me.
Ippa rombo confident arpele Shubha Pantorali. Why don't you sing a little bit of Shubha Pantorali?
Shubha Pantorali? Okay, can I do one thing instead?
Yes.
Instead of Shubha Pantorali, I recently, not recently, I think this was also almost 20 years back, I composed a tilana in Ragam Shubhali, which is Shubha Pantorali without Panchamam. After that, I became so enamored with Shubha Pantorali, I also started dabbling in all the janyas. And Kolkata, contrary to the belief that, being in Kolkata might have deprived me of some of the benefits of Carnatic, I would say I benefited a lot by listening to how people practice Hindustani music and their ragas.
Okay.
So this is a raga called Gurjari Todi, and it was the Durga Puja, the sound of dhak, the drums, it's called dhaki, and the whole magic of Devi all around me. I felt like I should compose
I
this
keep
tilana.
thinking that everyone, I mean, if they get an opportunity, they must be there during Durga Puja.
Very rightly said. So I will sing this tilana for you, which is in Ragam Shubhali, Shubha Pantavrali, without the Panchama. How did I press? Okay. So I said this to Mishra Chapu because there aren't a lot of tilanas in Mishra Chapu talam, and since we already have a lot of beautiful tilanas, I try to compose in ragas which we do not already have tilanas in, or talams where we don't already have tilanas.
And tilanas are normally very lively and and anything of this genre is usually it evokes pathos and
I will sing and I'll let
It's
you
like
decide. I do not know why. It was just
yes.
a moment. So I do not, apart
but
from...
you composed it.
Yes, and it
Wonderful.
was just it was not in a very happy moment, but for some reason it came out sounding happy. I don't know why. So I guess I will let you decide after you listen whether it evokes pathos or happiness in you. But I think a raga has several rasas depending on how you, again, that's where my dance background helps. And I would not pin down one raga to one rasa. It's quite possible to sing, like people typically choose Sahana for Karunyam. But it's quite possible to sing Sahana with lot of, vigor and pep also. Like just to demo it.
Yes, it's interesting.
You would typically sing all this, but why can't I sing na 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 re na na re re. I could sing those fast-paced phrases, also stay within Sahana and make it sound peppy. There is no specific rule that Sahana has to be VP and very filled with compassion. You can, depending on how you sing Sahana, you could depict that. So I'll sing this Shubha Pantavrali Shubhali Tilana for you and let you decide. Deem tananadra dillana dillana nadra dillana nadra dillana nadra deem tananadra dillana dillana nadra dillana nadra dillana nadra deem tananadra dillana dillana nadra dillana nadra dillana nadra deem tananadra dillana dillana nadra dillana nadra dillana nadra tam 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 tanana dim 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 tanana dirana tam 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 tanana dim 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 tanana dirana tam 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 tanana dim 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 tanana dirana tam 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 tanana dim 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 tanana dirana tanadirana tadirana tanadirana tadirana tanadirana tadirana tanana dim tanana dim tanana dim tanana dillana dillana nadre dillana dillana nadre dim durgati nashini durge bhavani dina palini divya rupini Divyarupini Dushtamani tadara tani udara tani tana dirana nadra dirana nadra tani tomdra sari dani samadani tana na dirana dana na dirana tadutta jurdim rega madamadim tadutta jurdim gamadani dadim tadutta jurdim madani sari dim tana nadra dillana dillana nadra dillana nadra dillana nadra di
Wonderful. That was really wonderful. And I must confess, it was nowhere near being sad.
Dukkha harini.
Yes.
Dehi sharanam dukkha harini. She takes away your sorrow. So why would you can make a raga sound happy if you wanted to. Not all, because
Yes,
I won't say, I won't go to the extent of saying all ragas have all 9 rasas or sub-rasas, but I'll say, definitely say it's
So a
possible.
Neelambari can be used like, how we say, Bhupalam wakes up a person. So is that possible?
Yeah, I don't know if it can be used as a complete contrast. I mean, I just feel that it has more.
There's more than what it
I
meets
can.
the eye.
Mohanam is generally understood to be a happy raga,
Happy.
but I could bring more pathos and seriousness into it if I, depending on how I approach the raga.
So that depends on the lyrics, or that depends on the how the artist works around it.
Lyrics, of course, to a
plays a
large
big
extent.
thing, no?
We can't take a very sad lyric in, like, you know, if Tyagaraja is asking Rama, like, why have you forgotten me? I can't make it sound happy. That would be wrong.
I mean, that is
It
spoiling
happens.
the. I
People
know.
do it probably unknowingly,
Yes,
but
yes.
that's not what
I've
we're
heard
supposed
people
to.
sing, for example, something like Vandanamu in Sahana
Ah.
or Jagadodharana.
Ah.
Rather than putting the child, it's supposed to be a lullaby. But it will be so racy and so fast paced that it will probably wake up the
Wake up
the child, you know.
So yeah, lyrics, you cannot try to coax out some rasa that would be unsuitable to the lyric, but within the lyrics also there are different rasas, right? We say, you know, like Nee in the Mayam Saidal Nyayam Dana, there is this famous Varnam by Papnasam Shivan that's used for dance. Or
I
even
think you should.
I'll,
No, we
do it
can't
some
have
other
enough
time.
of this.
We'll definitely do it some other time for you. But
Okay.
basically, you can ask him, like, I'll just do a little bit. I would say, Idi Nyayam Dana, I would ask, generally speaking, like, is this right on
Yeah,
your
that's
part?
one
I can
way of
ask,
asking.
Like, Idi Nyayam Dana. And then, in the Mayam Saidal, Nyayam Dana. நியாயம் தானா உனக்கு இது நியாயமா இது என்ன இப்படிலாம் பண்ணுற ஐ கேட் ஆஸ்க் த சேம் கொஸ்டின் இன் ஸோ மெனி வேஸ் இது ஆமாம் பார்த்துட்டு தான் இருக்கேன்டா யூனோ ஐ பீன் சீயிங் லைக் இது நியாயம் தானா ஐ பீன் வாட்சிங் யூ ஐ பீன் அப்சர்விங் யூ இஸ் திஸ் ரைட் ஆன் யுவர் பார்ட் ஐ குட் ஆஸ்க் த சேம் கொஸ்டின் இன் ஸோ மெனி வேஸ் ரைட் லைக் ஐ பீன் ஆஸ்கிங் யூ த சேம் கொஸ்டின் ஸோ மெனி டைம்ஸ் கான்ட் யூ யூனோ இஸ் திஸ் ரைட் ஆன் யுவர் பார்ட் டு ஸ்டே திஸ் வே and not answer? See, so many rasas come out with the same lyrics, right?
See, that's the advantage of learning dance also. That was, you know, in just a few minutes you demonstrated so much to us. That was wonderful.
So that comes out, but I believe, like, I would say it's a blessing that I'm I have a close relationship with swaras. So when I sing a Gandharam or a Madhyamam, I feel that the way I sing it, I can coax out different rasas in a combination of notes.
So how are you able to sort of convey this to your students?
So it depends
I
on...
mean, what is the methodology? Is there any specific methodology? Or?
Definitely. I keep talking to them, you know, when we come to those points. I definitely... I have these fun conversations, you know, when somebody sings a particular...
Now, most of it must be online due to the lockdown.
Yeah, I was just telling a girl, like, yeah, Gauri Kumara. There was a line, Gauri Kumara. She was like, Gauri. I said, Gauri, ma, Gauri. We're talking about Parvati. She's beautiful, right? Like, don't bang the Gauri down like that. You're saying, Kumara. It's her child. So I do explain the meaning and say,
So little Vatsalya there, correct.
little, you know, soften it. And then I do get down into the specifics of what they should do to get that. Sometimes the student picks up just by listening. After 4 or 5 attempts, if I see they don't get the point, I do tell them, soften your voice here a little bit, make it a bit louder at that point. So I do get down to that level of detail if the student needs it. Sometimes it's about voice modulation. When I myself do it, I might not have thought about that part. I would
Today
have
they
thought
have
only about the
classes
rasa.
for that, you know, this voice modulation. Yes.
Really? I don't know. To me, I felt it was intuitive, based on what the meaning is. And when I think of the meaning, modulation happens automatically. But right now, I agree. Maybe there is a need for it, because I myself often tell them, like, what was it? I was We were discussing the Sri Ragavarnam. I was teaching somebody a Sri Ragavarnam. I said, Sami ninne kori. The child was good, sharp. She sang Sami, and then I was like, what's going wrong? Why is she sounding different? She's still singing Panchamam. She is on note. And then I realized, oh, she's throwing her voice to my. It's like when you're just beginning, don't throw. First align Sami, and then you can increase. Don't no, right at the beginning. Don't belt it out of there. There have been
வாயை திறந்து பாடும்பல்ல
ஆடலாம், பட் அது எங்க வாயை திறக்கணும், எத்தனை திறக்கணும், அதுவும் இருக்கு. Of course, open throated singing right at the beginning there were singers, but even when I listened to them, they had tremendous control. When we listened to those yesteryear singers who did not have a mic and had to throw, but even they had tremendous control. They knew where to throw it, how much to throw it. So right now I think it is important sometimes to explain to that level of detail. And others I've devised, my corporate experience has helped me in that way, that I've devised other technology, other methodologies, like having a log. I try to emphasize on how important practice is. So I asked them to maintain a log, not for micromanagement, but because we just meet once a week, right? How would I know what they're practicing?
There's no replacement for practice.
Yeah, so I tell them how to practice methodology and then maintain that log, and I supervise the log. Then I've devised this 21-day sadhana challenge. So the challenge is to wake up at 5 in the morning and practice for 2 hours. If you're able to do 5 to 7, you get 100 points. If you do 2 hours any other time in the day, you still get 75 points. And basically at the end of those 21 days, and I also get senior artists to join in with me, and I of course do it every day. I send a mail at 4:45 a.m. to say, okay, today's practice starts now. Some can, some cannot, but at least
but it's each one at their
in their time zone
and their conscience.
Yes, in their time zone.
It's only what they own up to.
Yes, absolutely.
There's no other way to monitor them.
Yes, they have to send me an email when they start. So that way, if somebody does in the morning, they send me. Otherwise, they don't bother. If you actually wake up at 5, then I'll have the timestamp as per their time zone. But I try to make it more voluntary.
Friendly.
But if somebody does it, they get a prize. And it's not just the students. It's students and my friends who are artists, peer artists, and their students. So when you see others around you doing it, you get inspired, right? So at the end of it, there's a prize. So some motivation. And I try to have thematic concerts at my place. So when I was in the US, it started. So not just for my students, for people I mentor or other young students of other teachers. So when you see good quality around you, you feel inspired. So these are the small measures I try to take, and I try to. Chamber concerts was something my guru in Kolkata started. I got that from him. He used to have those chamber concerts to inspire us to practice, and
back then.
Yes. He was the one who showed me that there's an option. You don't have to wait for a sabha or something.
True.
So he used to motivate all of us by having those chamber concerts. Ambi sir, he started that whole thing about how we could be a family within our student community. So I try to kind of emulate those things, and I've learnt a lot from all my gurus. And I'm trying to take some of those values.
It's just amazing, no? That I think you would consider yourself very privileged that you have had
Yes.
this journey with so many gurus.
Absolutely.
And all of them so renowned and
absolutely. JV sir taught me with so much love and so much affection. Similarly, TKV sir, he was working in AAR as a staff artist. He would come back from work, and during those holidays, because I was there for a limited period, he also taught me, like TKV sir would also ask me, what do you want to learn? I said, sir, I want all those Rattakalai Tyagaraja Kritis. I have more of Dikshitar and less of Tyagaraja. Can you help me? You teach me. Okay. I was like all of 16 and all that. You teach me Chakani Raja, Kadani Raja. Whatever I asked for. Maybe, of course, he understood that I was able to receive it, but so much of affection. And JV sir was similar. He taught me certain Laya aspects. J. Venkatraman sir was famous for Laya. He taught me certain very complex Laya aspects. And then I said, Mama, Laya, I can still work on my own, but I want to learn some kritis. And he also was like, Seri, onakenna venum. I've had to
so do you ask this of your students? Onakenna venum akathutharen?
I do. It depends. Like, let's say there's a competition coming up, or there's a thematic event coming up, composer based, then I do go with what they want.
What the
it depends on the level also. If some of them are too young to decide, or they say it's up to you, I just leave it. But if they have an ask, I definitely do teach them that.
So in today's circumstances, would you feel that, the same culture is there, the Guru Shishya culture? What you had experienced with your Guru and.
Yes and no. Like it's become much more friendly and less hierarchical. Back in the day, it's not because the gurus expected. We were just taught that way. Like my parents always taught me, like, don't sit in front of your guru. You have to, so it was like, unless of course they ask you to sit. So we start the class with a namaskaram, end it with a namaskaram. So even if the gurus are friendly, there was always that thought in our heart that they are on a pedestal. But now I am more like a friend with my students. So it's more like, hey, we start the class with, hi, how is your day? What's going on? Good morning. Hey, I like that shirt that you're wearing and stuff like that. It's because I think it's important for them also, for both of us to be able to relate to each other. And any examples that I give, like back in the day, our gurus would give examples from their lives and what they'd learned. And now we have to quickly relate to how technology works or what is an example that they would relate to. With people being in different countries, I can't
it
just
has to be more contextual.
Contextual. So if it's something that they can relate to, that's what it rings a bell, right?
True. And I think having said that, today's generation is very focused, and they do a lot of practice.
Absolutely.
And
yeah. I think
we have a lot of promise.
Yeah, I think this generation has a lot of benefits, good and bad, right? Like if I want to encourage them to listen a lot, so that's one thing that's probably missing. In nowadays, I think we had the opportunity to listen to a lot of good music, and all day, in fact, at my home, all day we used to play only Carnatic music. It was after a very long time that I even started listening to Bollywood or movie music. For us, the only music that existed was either Carnatic or Hindustani, only classical. Now, when I ask them to listen, I have to actually consciously ask them to listen to music. I tell them that make listening a part of your daily, diet. You need to have a listening window. Yes. Subconscious listening is also okay because it gives you a lot, as much as conscious listening does. So just let some music play in the background. But the good thing about today's world is they have the technology. I can just send them a YouTube link. It happened recently. So two of my students were singing something that they had learnt from another guru. I did not want to change the pattern. I said, you go ahead and it sounds very good. And their previous guru had taught them that piece very well. But they needed some guidance on how the final net result should sound. So I got a good YouTube link. I happened to, as I was browsing, I got a very good YouTube link of the same piece that had been sung by stalwarts. So I sent it to them, like, this is how you should try and finally deliver it. This is the pace, the Kala Pramanam at which you should be singing it. This is the punch. So I do definitely try and focus on those aspects as well. It's not just about what you sing, it's also about how you sing.
So you go the extra mile.
Definitely. I think it makes
it's important to respect the work that the guru has also done.
Definitely. And technology helps, right? So I could send them a link. I do that for all my students. In fact, I keep sending them good music links and share, and I give them a kind of, some people want guidance on who to listen to. I say, feel free to listen to whoever you like. But these are the artists I would recommend for a must listen list, and then you can listen to the others based on your choice. But definitely do listen to these artists at least once a week, or so give them so all that's possible. And the earlier days, if my guru had said you certainly should listen to so and so, it would have been difficult to get a recording and all that. Well, luckily we still belong to the cassette and CD generation. But
now these kids can
absolutely
listen on the go.
Yeah, I can either send them the link, or I just tell them go Google this or get this on YouTube, and they listen and they come back to me and they said, okay, who did you listen to this week? They come and share snippets of what, like, I liked so and so artist, I listened to this artist.
It is a big advantage in that. Absolutely. I think even during this last 8 months or 10 months which has gone by, it must have proved to be a big boon to have it in place, because you can really connect with your students.
Yes.
Across I think you have students across the globe, right?
Different time zones and countries. Not a lot, because now I'm doing only one-on-one. So I'm
That's your choice?
Yes, by choice. So
and anyway, you can do only one-on-one, no?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Technology, in these,
it's difficult. Like, I do have Two of them were sisters, so they sing together. But even then, especially the tala aspect is where, but still I try to work around it. I tell them, okay, if I'm singing swarams, like you can't immediately pick up after me, especially when we are doing the Vanavartana swalams. But I say I'll sing, and then you pick up from the next round based on your talam. I can see your talam, so I know. I can hear your talam, so I make it a point to do it on video and push them back a bit so that I can see their talam. And even if there is a lag, the point is my talam will match my singing and your talam will match your
Should
singing.
match your
right?
singing, no?
So
Yeah,
I
correct,
should always
correct,
use
correct.
those parameters. But so even two works, but not a huge group. Like we cannot do a huge group. So back in the day, yes, when I was teaching vocal, violin and dance in Kolkata, there were like 50 plus students, but all local in Kolkata. Now I don't have a huge number because I'm doing one-on-one and also trying to manage a concert schedule. But the few that I have, I try to, this is where I'm trying to work with them, that make them capable of performing. Like if they, my thought in my mind is whether they want to become performers or not. If they were to perform on stage or even in front of somebody, how would the song sound? How should it sound? Are they delivering well? Are they enunciating well? So I try to emphasize on aspects like language, pronunciation, especially for kids who do not always speak these languages. It's important to emphasize. Or even when kids from Tamil Nadu, right, they acquire certain bad linguistic habits, like saying na instead of na instead of na, la instead of la. So regardless of where you are,
Probably they have not been exposed to reading Tamil or something.
I think it's
தெரியல.
also in the slang தமிழ் கொஞ்சம் வந்துடுது அதனால sometimes and நம்ம தமிழில் வந்து இப்போ இது இல்லை இல்லையா தலாம் ஸோ சம்டைம்ஸ் அந்த சன்ஸ்கிருத் பாட்டு பாடுறச்சு எதுக்கு சொல்ல வரேன்னா இந்தியாவில் இருக்கிற குழந்தைகளுக்கு ப்ரொனன்சியேஷன் ப்ராப்ளம் இல்லைங்கிறது இல்லை இங்கே இருக்கிறவங்களுக்கு வேறு மாதிரி ப்ராப்ளம் இருக்குது அங்கே இருக்குது ஸோ எவ்வளோ ஆஸ்பெக்ட்ஸ் பார்க்கணும் நம்ம சொல்லி தரச்சே அவளுக்கு லாங்குவேஜ் கரெக்டாக இருக்கிறது ப்ரொனன்சியேஷன் இருக்கிறது அது வாய்ஸ் த்ரோ மாடுலேஷன் try. So we try, to make
Which has been more satisfying for you, as a being a performer or a teacher?
Both, both. Because being a performer is where I get to apply what my gurus have taught me in terms of performing and how to exploit my creativity, without any limitations. I can just, give out everything that my heart says. Now, when it comes to teaching, there is a great joy in, first of all, I enjoy the company of young people, and young or old, I've had students across age groups, but it's a great joy
when you transfer
knowledge in general, and also interacting with young students and seeing how they receive the knowledge, and to see, each generation has its own specialities, right? So it's this generation has certain things that I really enjoy about them. It's so much fun, just something like oh, I have this app notification coming up, can trigger off a conversation for 10 minutes. Oh, I got this app update, I did this software. Like, I didn't know that a software update was so much more interesting than the Sahana that all this teasing and leg pulling, and I think transferring knowledge, B, seeing them evolve. When I see the progress from what it was 6 months back to what it is now, or they go on stage, they do something and they come back to me and I see good comments on Facebook.
Oh, your students have been performing?
Yes, some of them have started performing. There have been others who have also been performing in the past. Some whom I have mentored, maybe I didn't take them on full time because I also had a job. So they've also been learning from other gurus, but I've mentored them and they've actually been doing serious performances. Now my current group of students are singing small concerts on Facebook and all that. So they come back, it's a big moment for us, waiting for that comment section to see how they did and all that. So I think it's got its...
I think talking about comment section, we have a question which has come up for you.
Okay.
Let us see. Okay. Could you please let us know under whom you learned Bharatanatyam and when you did your first concert? I think you just spoke about this.
There in Kolkata, I started learning from Guru Panderinathan, who was actually Natvanar and Mridangist for T.A. Rajalakshmi, Tanjore T.A. Rajalakshmi. Then I learned from Kalamandalam Venkat and Srimati Tangamani Kotti. They run a huge school called Kolkata Kalamandalam, Calcutta Kalamandalam.
Oh.
in Kala. And then I learned from Srimati Chitra Vishweshwaran during the scholarship
This Kala
period.
Mandalam is a standalone thing. I mean, they are.
They are actually graduates from the Kerala Kala Mandalam, and
Yesterday,
then they came and
I think
opened
it
a
was just day
branch.
before today. I saw a performance of Kathakali from Kala Mandalam at Kalakshetra.
Now, but the great thing is they came to Kolkata where T.A. Rajalakshmi and there were just like one or two other teachers, and they opened this youth school, and now I think it has the student strength runs to thousands.
Oh my God.
Several thousands. They had to actually get like acres and acres of land in a new place and build a school. So Kalamandalam Venkat and Kalamandalam Thangamani Kutti, they were my teachers in Kolkata. And then, like I said, I pursued it under Srimati Chitra Vishweshwaran for some time.
Okay.
And now I've again started learning under Guru Vijay Madhavan. So I continue. He was learning with me when I was with Chitraka, and now he's, I go to him for guidance. So he's my present Guru. When did I do my first
So you're
concert?
a student and you're a teacher too.
Yeah, always. Always. Same applies to vocal. I'm still,
There's no
Suguna
end to it.
Mami, I'm a child, and I always, tell her, Mami, please teach me this or that. And I think I will do that all my life.
And there's so much to learn from her.
Absolutely. Every class, there is a new revelation. There's something that comes out, that aha moment, like you say, that, why didn't I think of this? And they're very patient. Mami is very patient, and that's one thing that I've learned from Mami, and I try to give to my students.
How
that
long has your association been with her?
22 years, 98
Oh.
to now. 22 years. Very happy about it. So the point is, Mami doesn't, again, in a way, although she teaches as many times as you need, she won't spoon feed in the sense that she's not going to tell you what's wrong. If I sing a line wrong, or maybe not the way she would have wanted it to sound like, she'll repeat it 20 times if need be. She's not going to tell me outright, like, you did this or that wrong. So the second, by now, now there's no need for a 20 or something. What happens is the second or third time she repeats it, I know there is something. And she doesn't encourage much of, notation based learning. So I've kind of more or less switched over to just listening, because she allows you to record. So we do have a recording, and I feel like notations are wonderful, but it's probably, it originated in a time when you didn't have audio recordings. Now when you have a way to document it through audio recordings, that's even more pristine, because you get to hear the same notation can be interpreted in different ways. I give you the same notation, different people can sing it with different gamakas. But when I have the audio recording, it can't be interpreted, right? It is what it is. Suguna Mami sings it this way, Padma sings it this way, or somebody else sings it that way. That's how it is. And then you can take it and interpret it differently. But how I've taught you is how I've taught you.
This is interesting. So you give them notations, your students?
I do, but not while learning the song. So the one good thing that Mami has tried to inculcate in all of us is listen. Listen so carefully that you can absorb the 100%. 100% reproduction, perfect reproduction. There is no room for a 90% or a 75%. You can't sing something almost the way Mami sang. To the extent possible, it has to be an exact, or at least a very good reproduction of what she did. And that she encourages in terms of listening. Like, you listen so keenly that you'll do it well. And that's what I try to tell my students also. That when you listen, don't do an almost or an approximation. Try and listen 100% and reproduce it. And I think that listening helps in so many ways, even academically, right? If you're listening to what your teacher says keenly,
yeah.
you don't have to go back and, I think auditory memory or whatever, maybe I'm not saying audio and the kadoda retention nanna pannintona, if we can listen well and retain what's being conveyed, I think it helps in multiple ways.
So before we close, I had a thought that was coming to me. Now you've spent so much time in Kolkata, and you're known as, the prefix to your name is that. You should have learned some Bengali music, Rabindra Sangeet
not
or something.
formally. I kind of, I'm very fond of this genre called Shama Sangeet. Like I said, I have this great affinity and, this feeling of closeness to Devi. And like in this Tilana also the lyrics refer. So Shama Sangeet is a genre of Bengali music that is devoted to Kali, Ma Kali.
Oh.
Shama is, the dark one. Yes. Sham.
Yes, yes. Even
So
for Krishna.
she's
it's-
called Shama Shangit. So she's Sham's sister.
So this is sung during Navratri Puja or
no, any time. It's a
anytime?
genre which is dedicated to Kali.
Kali.
So I just picked up one or two songs of those songs
think-
out of my own interest. I didn't learn it formally, but
I think before we end, we'd like to hear you sing that.
okay, I'll sing a little bit of it.
Yes.
So I'll also explain the meaning. Instead of singing the entire song, I'll sing 2 lines, but I'll explain the meaning so it makes more sense. So here, the poet is believed to be Qazi Nazrul Islam,
Oh.
and he, oh my God, the
Oh, you
depth
mean
and
to say he was a Islamic person?
I guess so. Like, you know, Kabir. Oh, yeah. There are so many beautiful aspects to this song, you know. And he has composed so many. He is a very famous composer of this genre on Ma Kali, and the intensity of his bhakti is something that is, you know, you have to hear the lyrics to believe it. And this is just like one small example where he says that on the name of Shama, my whole body is on fire. The name of Shama Namir Laglo Agun. That the fire of Shama's name, Amar Deho Dhoop Katite. So he, it's a metaphor. It says my body is like agarbatti, dhoop kati. It's an incense stick. Once you light that incense stick with the name of Shama, it burns. It burns in bhakti, and the ashes fall at your feet. With those ashes, I will apply vibhuti to. It's like the intensity is like when I sing it, sometimes I choke up and I'm unable to sing the next word. It's that intense.
See, back here we don't even know about all this.
We know a lot of things. After coming to Tamil Nadu, I'm learning so much about aspects that I was not like all Tevaram and Tirupura. I'm trying to learn those aspects better here. Shema Namir Lagalo Agun Amar Deho Dhukatite Shema Namir Lagalo Agun Amar Deho Dhukatite Shema Namir লাগলো আগুন আমার দেহ ধূপ কাটিতে যত জালি সুবাস তত ছড়িয়ে পড়ে চারিদিকে মা শ্যামা নামের লাগলো আগুন আমার দেহ ধূপ কাটিতে যত জালি সুবাস তত ছড়িয়ে পড়ে চারিদিকে মা শ্যামা নামের লাগলো আগুন আমার দেহ ধূপ কাটিতে ভক্তি আমার ধূপের মতো ঊর্ধ্বে ওঠে অবিরত ভক্তি আমার ধূপের মতো ঊর্ধ্বে ওঠে অবিরত শিবলোকে দেবদেওলে শ্রী চরণ পরশিতে মা 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 গো মা গো মা
beautiful. And like you said, the very, the emotion is so tangible.
Absolutely.
We can't thank you enough for having come and, honored us.
Thank you so much. It was lovely talking to you and sharing these experiences.
Absolutely.
And thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk about my gurus.
That's so important that we
Absolutely.
owe it to them.
They have shaped me into whoever I am today.
Thank you, Padmavathi. So today we will sign off here and we'll meet you again next week with another special guest at ACHARYA Chat.